Every few months I make a video about the best bike and wheel combinations for different routes on Zwift, and since the racing season has just started, I think it is about time to do another update. This time, however, I decided to approach it a little different. Up until now, I was always showing something like the best 3 overall choices for each type of route, but such recommendation wouldn't really make too much of a sense now, because we now have bike upgrades. If you just returned to Zwift after an outdoor season and are not familiar with bike upgrades, I strongly recommend you to check my video on the topic, but in short, we now have an ability to upgrade each bike up to 5 times, and each of said upgrades heavily improves that bike's performance. And that includes races, not just casual rides. In vast majority of cases, using a bike that has been upgraded is preferable to using one that hasn't, even if the other frame is technically better on paper. And since upgrading is not only about spending drops but also riding on the bike frame you are upgrading, it is very unlikely you have an endless catalog of fully upgraded bike frames that you can use. So having said all that, could we condense the advice to simple always use the bike frame that you have fully upgraded? Well, assuming you have just one, then yeah, always use the bike frame that you have fully upgraded. It is going to be the best choice for you at this very moment. But if you do not have any bike upgraded, or you want to start upgrading better one, or you are simply wondering how good the Tron Bike and Halo bikes perform, this following section is going to be for you. For all intents and purposes of this video, I am going to categorize Zwift routes into 3 groups. The first one is going to be flat routes. This includes completely pancake style routes like Tempus Fugit, but also somewhat rolling ones like Rolling Highlands. The second group is going to be hilly routes. Here you can imagine fairly flat routes with one significant climb, like for example elevation evaluation, or consistently hilly courses like City and the Skur. And the final group are mountainous courses. Here we are talking about routes like Climber's Gambit, Tour of Fire and Ice, or even behemoths like Van Top. If you just started Zwifting and are below level 10, you don't need to worry about bike selection. Simply enjoy the game and save drops because you are going to need them very soon. The only thing I would recommend you at this point is making sure you have your Everest challenge selected, so you can start accumulating those vertical meters for the coveted Tron Bike. And when I said you are going to need a lot of drops really soon, I meant you are going to need 1.1 million drops when you reach level 10, because that is when you are going to buy Canyon Arrow 2024. Not only is this by far the best selection around this level, it is one of the best bikes in the game, period. It is not always going to be the very best frame, but it will be up there with other best contenders. Buy it as soon as possible and immediately equip it so you can start working on upgrading it. At this point, don't worry about the routes or wheel sets, keep your drops for the upgrades, it is way more important. At level 20, not many things are going to change when it comes to bike frames. Canyon Arrow 2024 is by far the best choice here. Hopefully by this point you will have already gained some upgrades on it. Don't be tempted to spend money for a climbing bike. Even partially upgraded Arrow is going to be better at climbing than a proper climbing bike like Bridgestone Anchor RS9S, which has not been upgraded. At level 16 you might wanna get your first wheel set, the Rowell CLX 64. It costs 525,000 drops and will save you a decent amount of time compared to the stock wheels. At level 30 there are going to be some things you might wanna consider. Of course, upgrading the Arrow still has the highest priority, and if you do not have it at level 5 yet, continue working on that. But if you do, there is another bike frame you might want to consider working on, Specialized Athos S-Works. It costs a little under a million drops and it is by far the best climbing bike in the game. What is even more important though, at level 29 the best all-around wheels in the game unlock, the NV 4.5 Pros. It costs 675,000 drops and it is a wheelset I personally use for a vast majority of my riding, from completely flat routes to the most mountainous ones. Just get this wheelset and unless you want to really min-max, you are done with the wheels. At level 40, the best all-around bike frame that you can buy for drops unlocks, the S-Works SL8. It is the one that I have fully upgraded and use, but honestly, if you already have a fully upgraded Aeroad, there is not going to be a huge difference. We are talking like less than 10 seconds over 1 hour of riding, and the SL8 is very expensive, 1.75 million drops. If you really want to use the best of the best, go for it, but don't forget that you will need to go through the upgrade process all over again, and it might be better to focus on upgrading different types of bikes like climbing bikes or time trial bikes. As for the wheels, at level 40 you can buy the DT Swiss Arc 1100 disc wheels for 1 million drops, and these are the best wheels in the game for flat and rolling routes. I personally do not bother switching to those wheels. The time difference compared to my Envies is super small and probably not worth obsessing over. What we've covered so far will get you all the way through the most advanced racing events on Zwift. Now, that does not mean that these are the only good choices. When it comes to bike frames, there are others that are basically on par with both Aeroad and SL8, and the same applies to wheel sets. There are others that are almost at the same level as the Envies. One thing we didn't cover yet are time trials. To even start a time trial event, you need a dedicated time trial bike, and here I would actually recommend you to pick one from either Cannondale, Specialized or Pinarello, because when you fully upgrade 3 bikes from those brands, you unlock the ability to purchase what is called a Halo bike. Halo bikes are very difficult to unlock, super expensive to purchase and even more expensive to upgrade, but they are the pinnacle of what you can get in the game. Well, at least 2 of them. Specialized Project 74 and Cannondale R4000 are the best bikes in the game for any route with up to about 12 meters of climbing per kilometer, so even fairly rolling courses. To get a level 5 Halo bike, you need to upgrade 3 bikes of the same brand first, then purchase the Halo bike for 10 million drops, and then ride 8,000 kilometers on it and spend another 10 million drops to fully upgrade it. So only the most hardcore Zwifters will ever have fully upgraded Halo bike. Don't worry though, the time advantage of these bikes to something like SL8 is in seconds per 1 hour of riding, so by not having those bikes you are not really missing that much. How about the beloved Tron Bike though? For those of you who don't know, you get this bike for accumulating 50,000 vertical meters while having the Everesting Challenge active. In terms of performance, when it is fully upgraded, it is on par with the 2 Halo bikes we've mentioned. It is the best choice on flat and somewhat hilly courses, but upgrading it is once again fairly painful. Even if you already have a Tron bike, and not everyone does, you first need to upgrade 3 Zwift branded frames to be even eligible to start upgrading the Tron bike. And once you are, it is the same story as with the Halo bikes. You need to ride 8,000 kilometers on it and spend 10 million drops to fully upgrade it. So the takeaway point here is, don't worry about these bikes too much. Treat them like a long-term reward, but if you are concerned about your racing performance, any of the choices we mentioned earlier are going to be sufficient. Let me know in the comments what bike and wheel combinations do you use, and if you want to learn more about the bike upgrades I mentioned, watch this video right here.